All right, we're on. Exciting stuff. I'm glad you're here. So let me just go ahead and share yourself as well. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you
Audio
fine.
sounds good. Awesome. And then how about video? Video looks good as well.
Yep, your video looks good. Mine looks all right too. It's smaller than yours, so I can't tell for sure.
Awesome. We'll go live on YouTube and I'll try to stream this on LinkedIn as well.
Sounds like a game plan.
Awesome. And then for everyone who is watching this, the recap, please fast forward 1 minute in to the interview. We got 10 minutes or 10 seconds left.
Oh God.
3, 2, and 1. So, how would you close $200,000 as the first sales AE hire? Let's go. Hey, what's up, everybody? Zen here with another episode of Close One. Welcome to our Sales Power Hour Lunch Edition. Today, we have Ryan Zadrzil joining us, and together we will cover how you can break into the Saas startup world as the first AE sales hire, what you must do and must not do to crush your quota, and most importantly, how to close $200,000 in the first half of 2021 as the first AE hire. So real quick, let's say hello to our audience. So we want to say hi to YouTube, all of the folks from Facebook, hello, and most importantly, our LinkedIn crew. If you are new here, make sure you smash subscribe and the like button. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us as well. We'll do our best to answer them for you. So let's get started. All right. So Ryan is passionate about building a community called Sales Dev Unite. It is a place for sales dev leaders to connect, collab, and create across the globe. He's building it with his co-founder and good friend, Jackson Lieu. Together, they care very deeply about helping people, both young and old, break into the tech and SaaS world. So here's why you should listen to Ryan. Okay, so this year alone, Ryan has a quota of $300,000, but he's already closed around $200,000 in ARR, and it's only July. So I'm going to bet that he's going to go to $500,000 by the end of the year.
God, I hope so.
Some fun facts about Ryan. He started his first inside sales position 5 years ago in a call center. He quickly became the top performing sales rep. In 2020, he got laid off from 2 jobs due to COVID, but he was able to bounce back 3 weeks after being laid off. He secured his role at BetterMynd as the first sales hire. So today, he's going to teach us how to become an account executive. So please help me welcome Ryan Zadrzil. Let's go. Ryan, how's it going? How are you?
Quite the intro. Thank you.
Always exciting to have fellow account executives because, I'm also an account executive in my heart. I care deeply about this role. And so let's get started with the account executive. First, define for us, what is an account executive?
It varies, I think, company to company, but at BetterMynd, it's a full cycle role. So I do everything from the initial outreach, prospecting, all the way to closing the deal, and then even some account management. So being at a startup, you have to wear a lot of hats. You have to be ready to move at a fast pace. You have to be a little scrappy because the tools aren't exactly as well-defined in processes right away. So you got to figure things out for yourself. And it's a lot of fun being account executive at BetterMynd.
Yeah. If you were to define like a salesperson or sales in general, what do you think sales is for you personally?
For me, sales is about making a connection. I have a very consultative selling approach. I know some people are like hardcore closers, just go for it, but I really like to understand the issues my customers are facing and empathize with them and give them a path so they don't have to deal with that problem or pain point anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I like this consulting approach, consultative approach. A lot of people think that sales is convincing. I don't think so at all. I think it's mostly just helping. And if you need to DQ them, go ahead and DQ them. You know, it's not a fit. And so I think consulting is the right way to go. Um, so walk us through this process. How did you become an account executive?
So I was laid off 4 months into a job at another startup company and wasn't really sure what to do. So I went on Angel Co and started looking at jobs. And I don't like applying for jobs. It's something I've never liked doing. I really like to make sure it's the right fit, not only for myself, but for the person who's hiring me, because you're going to be working there long term. So I reached out to Cody Semra, BetterMynd's founder and CEO, via LinkedIn connection requests. I think the next day we had a phone call and then we had one more interview, and now I'm an account executive at BetterMynd.
Yeah, you make it sound so easy. Give us 3 tips. Okay, so let's talk about breaking into the SaaS world, because obviously, tell us what you were before you broke into the SaaS world.
Yeah, I worked on a lot of different things. So I worked at an enterprise search marketing agency for about 3 months, and then I was laid off there. I worked for Chevron as an outsourced sales rep for about a year, and I worked for FedEx. So a pretty dynamic experience prior to going into SaaS and really understanding the full sales cycle.
What's the first tip that you could give us in order to get into SaaS?
So the first tip I would give would be, don't rely on your current job to teach you everything you need to know. Something I've been doing for about a year is I've been part of a sales mastermind group where we basically meet every Thursday night and solve each other's problems. And that's all we do. Every Thursday night for an hour, we just chat, go over the different issues, and it really helps learning from people at other companies and seeing the strategies they're implementing and how they're finding success.
That's pretty awesome. So learn outside of scope. Is that how you got into this?
Exactly, yeah.
Wow. Wait, what was this? What is the mastermind, and how can people join it? Is it open or is it a closed crew?
It's a open crew. I think it may be you have to pay now. I'm not positive. I kind of get let in for free. But it's Nick Runlet, my good friend, we're almost to the 100th recorded episode of it. So every Thursday we meet. There's 3 hot seats is what we call them, a hot seat, and you share for 15 minutes a problem you're facing. Then everybody puts their brains together and tries to solve that problem for that person.
Is it kind of like Clubhouse in a way?
Similar, with a little more structure, probably.
Yeah, that's a good, that makes a lot of sense. And so if people were to join this mastermind group, feel free to plug it in. Like, what should they do and what can they expect? Like, what kind of goals can they try to aspire to get or achieve? And then how long does it typically take to break into a role, an AE role?
Yeah, so I think what it really takes is you have to want it. If you just apply for jobs, it's not going to happen as easily as it is if you just send a cold email. I know you had Stan on a few weeks ago, and he sent a cold email to Jason Calacanis, and now he's part of the accelerator. So it's really important that you take initiative and write your own ticket, as I say, because when you write your own ticket, you're in control of whether or not you get that conversation versus just relying on a job application. It can take a long time to break into SaaS. I think there's a lot of great resources out there now, like Pre-Hired and FlockJ and Praxis and Aspireship. There's tons of great resources, but to get the most out of it, I think it's just utilizing those tools you learn in those boot camps or through your previous experience and having a way to implement it, in the job, in the workplace.
Yeah, I actually really like Praxis. I know a lot of people because I used to work at PandaDoc, and PandaDoc was one of their biggest sponsors. They would just hire people from Praxis. They didn't have any tech background or anything, but Praxis apparently teaches you how to use Salesforce and HubSpot and does some outreach, which is pretty cool. And so that's praxis.com, I believe. It's the
Nick's actually a Praxis alum too. It used to be all Praxis people in the sales mastermind, but now it's expanded into other sectors.
What's the business model for Praxis? Do you remember?
I actually wasn't in Praxis, so I don't know the business model off the top of my head. But I know, like you mentioned, there's a lot of training on CRMs and outreach and things like that.
Yeah, great program. Definitely check it out. So what is tip number 2 on how to break into SaaS?
You have to have grit and tenacity, and you have to be ready to be scrappy, because like I said before, you're not going to have all fancy tools like outreach most likely, or SalesLoft or Zoom Info. You have to find a way to make it happen with some of the most minimalistic tools. I right now make calls off of my cell phone. That's my dialer, and it works just fine because I have so many other things going on throughout the day. I don't need like a accelerated dialer or an auto dialer in order to get in front of people. But I think just being scrappy and ready to use whatever tools you have at your disposal will really set you apart very quickly.
So you're saying that you make a bunch of calls with your cell phone to call different tech companies and try to cold call them so they could.
I call colleges. I call colleges. So I call all the community colleges, technical colleges, larger universities, and those are who I call on throughout the day.
Nice. Cold calling is not dead.
It's not.
Let's do a role play. Let's do a cold call to one of your colleges. Let's see how this goes.
Oh, God.
All right, ring. Hello.
Hi, is this Zen?
Yes, this is. Who am I speaking to?
My name's Ryan Zadrazil. I'm calling from a company called BetterMynd. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Do we have an appointment?
We did not have an appointment. I know I'm catching out of the blue. Could I have a couple of seconds to explain why I called?
Sure, I'll give you 10 seconds.
Oh, I appreciate it. BetterMynd works exclusively with colleges and to provide students with online therapy. And a couple of ways we've been helping other community colleges this summer is with expanded evening and weekend hours, as well as providing access to a diverse network of counselors. I was wondering if that was something that was on your radar going into the fall semester.
I don't think I'm the right person to talk to about this.
Oh, you're not. I'm sorry. I had you down from a previous call. They said you were the right person. The receptionist had mentioned that.
Oh, got it. Okay. Well, here, why don't you shoot me an email and then I'll forward your details over to my colleague who is in charge of benefits and other programs.
Yeah, that's no problem. I can definitely send some information. What specifically would you be looking for? What would be most helpful?
Just an email is fine with the blurb.
Okay, no problem. And who would that be going to?
John at company.com.
But who would you be sending the information to? I just want to make sure I'm thorough and I get the right information in front of them.
John Smith, HR director.
John Smith? Okay. Would you be able to put me through to John? Is he busy?
He actually isn't around, so he's on vacation.
Okay. Would it be possible if I could get his number to call at another time, maybe when he's not on vacation?
I would love to. I don't even think he answers his phone anymore.
Maybe I could leave a voicemail since he's out and he would get it after I get back or after he gets back from vacation.
Sure, here it is. 415-555-5555.
Thank you so much for your help, Zen.
You're most welcome, Ryan.
You were hard on me, Zen.
No, actually, yeah, HRs are one of the best to cold call because they're very polite. And so when you ask them questions and you just try to break through, I think there's a rule out there: 4 no's. Eventually, you'll get a yes. Get as many no's as you can. And so I really like that. I really like your style. Very good job.
I appreciate it. Thank you. That was not an easy phone call. That was probably the hardest one I've had today.
You should work at Yelp. Oh yeah, no, it's good. I love that. I miss it. I don't do cold calls anymore. I used to make like 200 calls a day at Yelp, so they gave us like really hardcore training. Calling into businesses, small mom and pop shops. That was amazing. What were some of the things that the tips that you could break down with that cold call to make it effective? Because I caught a bunch that you did that was pretty good.
Where do I start? I think a big one was just not giving up, keeping the conversation going. It was a little awkward at the beginning. I mean, cold calls are like that.
It's always, yeah. You got to get used to that awkwardness.
Keep the dialogue going. And after we found out you weren't the right person, I kind of played with you a little bit to see if I could identify that you were or were not. And then it's really just having information to get the next person that is the correct contact and getting in touch with them, whether it be getting their direct line, getting an email, something along those lines.
My favorite was a cell phone number. That was very audacious. Like, those are my favorite questions, actually. I used to say that all the time as well. Cell phone number. Not many people ask for the cell phone number. And so it's okay to ask for cell phone numbers. I think you did a really great job with that. Cool. Do you usually get the appointment like then and there, the minute you make a cold call?
If I do it well, yeah, usually I get an appointment. Not always. I'm calling on the counseling center usually, or the dean of students office. So they're all stakeholders. So sometimes it's like they want me to just have a conversation with the counseling center. And then if it makes sense for us to move forward, then the conversation goes back to them. But I think it's just really battling to get in front of the right person who's willing to listen. Because they're not always willing to listen via the phone. So then you have to rely more heavily on email and follow-ups and making sure you get them to at least look at the information you're sending to them, like how we talked about at the end there, or getting in front of that person to just get their thoughts, essentially.
Yeah, and you were tenacious. You were gritty for sure. Thank you so much for that role play. So tip number 3 on how to break into SaaS tech world.
You can't do it alone. Like, I have so many people from LinkedIn that have helped me along the way, whether it be prepping for an interview or writing a follow-up note, and I'm not quite sure how to word it. Like, just rely on your network. There's so many people on LinkedIn that are willing to help, like genuinely willing to help you. So I think it's important that you realize that it takes an army to get where you want to go. It's not just you alone trying to figure out the journey.
I really like that one. Okay, thank you. So to recap, tip number 1, join Sales Mastermind, learn outside of scope. Tip number 2, write your own ticket, go above and beyond. Join boot camps like Praxis, be gritty, have tenacity, be scrappy. And tip number 3, you cannot do it alone. Ask for help. It takes an army. And I really like this because it took a while for me to ask for help as well. I think this is one of my weaknesses, is not asking for help. I just like to do things on my own. And so I like tip number 3 the most, for sure. Thank you. Let's go into the next question. It's high impact. So how did you become the first sales hire at BetterMynd? I know you told us it was a combination of Angel.co and then LinkedIn, and then you reached out. But I want to walk me through the process, connecting with them, in that interview. How did you deliver your value? How did you get that first offer letter from BetterMynd? I want to know that nitty gritty.
So the most important thing I did in the interview process, in the second interview, I prepared a 30, 60, 90 plan, what I wanted to accomplish in the first 90 days. And I think I stood out based on that, because it showed that I was truly invested in the role and took the time to think about what it's going to take for me to be successful.
I love it. What was in it? What was the DNA of your 30, 60, 90?
It was establishing like the total addressable market and who in that total addressable market was actually a viable prospect, because there's a lot of colleges that aren't, the right fit for BetterMynd. They're either too small or they don't have a need for it at this time. So it was really identifying who was the best people to be reaching out to.
Mm-hmm. And then what was the tactical approach, your methods in the 30, 60, 90 once you have the target market?
Yeah, then it was understanding, of those people, what's the most effective way to reach out to them? Is it making 100 calls a day? Is it sending emails? And we're still working on that. But I feel like laying down the framework and always revisiting that 30, 60, 90, even after I've presented it, like after those 9 days, laying it out again and again, over and over, so you know what you want to accomplish in this quarter or whatever you're focusing on.
Retrospective audits. I like this. So for BetterMynd, what was the most effective way to reach out to the target market, and who is the target market? You named it earlier, deans, and but what is the best channel to schedule meetings for them?
So when we started, we were very call heavy, but it really varies depending on the time of the year. When nobody's around the office and with COVID, people working remotely, we had to kind of pivot to more emails because we knew they would at least get in front of them. Not to say that we stopped making cold calls altogether, but that was a big part of, I think, what's kept us successful is continuing to adapt and overcome the obstacles that are put in front of us.
What was the 90 part of the plan? So you got the 30, 60 target market, the methods and tactics, and then what's the 90 part of your presentation?
Is basically being fully ramped and ready to, operate without like hand holding or anything like that. Being able to take the tasks that are given to me each day and do it without people having to run for support. Not that it's bad to run for support, but you know what I mean. Like being able to do it on your own and implement it and figure out different methods of getting in front of people.
So like a flywheel. Like just scaling out everything that you've done with your white glove service, basically, as a consultant.
Exactly.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so what's it like being the first sales hire at BetterMynd? How do you like it?
Well, now we have another account executive. So that's nice because we can A/B test things. We can ask each other what's working, what's not working. So I do like it a lot. I feel like we're growing very quickly, which is good. I actually am in the process of closing another deal this week and hopefully get a few more throughout the month of July. So I really do enjoy having that, us against the world mentality. Like we're just trying to get as many prospects, as many meetings, and close as many deals as we can, so we can, hit like Series A and just keep growing.
A great segue. So that takes us to our next section. How do you close 200K in 6 months? What are the 3 things that an AE must do?
Follow up. No, just one time. Follow up is so important. Without following up, you're missing out on so many opportunities. The second thing that helped a lot was the moment I feel like I don't want to do something, that's probably the moment I should do it, because doing hard things is part of being in sales. It's not an easy job by any means, but knowing you just have to do it sometimes in order to get the job done. You can't sit around and speculate about it. And the third thing would be being open to coaching. Cody's been really helpful when it's come to, crafting my skills and really understanding the language. It's a lot different than B2B at times, talking to these people. Like they're very proper and they want respect, versus like, hey, so-and-so, that doesn't really fly with the college people. So learning the language was a big deal, and being open to coaching.
I'm going to back up into the follow-up section. Give me an example. What is one of the best follow-ups you've ever done when a deal goes dark?
All right. So the biggest deal I've closed was about 50K, which was really exciting. And the reason why I closed it was because I reached out to them in September of last year And then I finally reconnected with them in May, I would say April, May. And then we really got the conversation going. So just because it went dead for a while didn't mean it was over. I had to be resilient and continue to try to get in front of them, whether it be cold calling, sending an email, just providing value at every step.
Wait, but what did you say? How did you follow up in April and May? Like, what was that? I know I should have told you this in earlier, but try to think about that approach. How are you able to rekindle the relationship?
I actually went at a different person within the college that was aware of me reaching out to them, but I, sidestepped and saw if I could get in front of somebody else. So it went from the student services person to the counseling center. And then she got really interested, and the next thing you know, they're a BetterMynd client. So
I love it. Some people might think sidestepping is rude, or it's impolite, but for me, I think that if the deal goes dark, do exactly what Ryan did. Try to find other people, other stakeholders. The steering committee is going to be a lot larger than you think. It's not just one decision maker. There's more people involved in that particular problem. So finding the right people, influencers and champions. Yes. So good. That's a great follow-up. And so, wait, I'm going to ask one more question. Finding that person, what did you say to that person, the new stakeholder, in order to pique their interest?
I spoke with so-and-so back in September. They said that you might be interested in having a conversation around BetterMynd. What can I do to make this happen? Something along those lines.
So name drop.
Yep.
Awesome. With number 2, I need an example. Do the hard things. So you said, like, give me an example of like what hard thing that you might not want to do that you just have to do in order to close that 200K.
It's 3:00 in the afternoon. You've made a bunch of cold calls. You've sent a bunch of emails. You've had no luck. But that's exactly when you should keep making calls and keep sending emails, because you never know who's going to pick up the phone, and the next thing you know, it could be a conversation. I've had calls where it's really early in the morning, calls where it's really late in the afternoon, and I end up scheduling a meeting, and it's mainly because of the persistence.
Yeah. I really like that. And then finally, coaching. Who is your coach? What are some of the things that he coached you with? What are like the secrets that he taught you?
The language was the big one, because I was so fixated on, hey, like my B2B Saas kind of approach, where it's a little bit different with the colleges. They're a little bit more proper. So it's Dr. Taylor, things like that. And being able to speak their language and the counseling center language, and understanding like what their pains are versus, what I'm not just trying to push my service on them, really understanding what the issues they are facing, whether it be, students having anxiety, depression, things like that, really just speaking their language.
Yeah, this is a pretty, I think, difficult industry, because you have to make sure you have high EQ in order to have those conversations, those tough conversations. And so give me an example of like turning those tough conversations and turning it into something that you could leverage, or where you can have an outcome that is a win-win situation.
Let me think about that one real quick.
Yeah, because I'll give you an example. It might not be relevant at all, but at Yelp, I do remember whenever we'd make cold calls to business owners, they hated us. Oh God, we'd get a lot of like, F you, you're writing reviews and this and that. Those conversations were hard, and people would cry sometimes because it was just so mentally, emotionally like, how do I get this business owner to buy from us? Advertising, right? And how do you appease that conversation? Like what? Because it's mostly changing paradigms, isn't it? When you're having these conversations. And so how do you get them to prioritize your product?
I think you have to detach yourself from the outcome. So when I say that, I mean like a lot of people are like, I need to get this meeting. Like that like you want to get the meeting when you're on the phone, but at the same time you want to get the right meeting, because if they're unqualified, you just wasted all your time prepping for a meeting, things like that. So I think it's important to not only qualify, but really understand if this is the right fit for them, not just the right fit because you're getting a meeting out of it.
Right. Awesome. Okay. So before I ask my last question, tell our audience where we can find you.
LinkedIn would be the best place. It's Ryan, and I'm sure you have the name up, but ZADRAZIL. I'd love to chat with you and meet you if you watch this and you enjoyed it. And I'd love to hear some of your success stories as well.
Awesome. And so how does Ryan close deals?
Listening. I listen and then I respond. It's not me talking over the person. It's really having that EQ like we talked about, and really diagnosing the issue they're facing and making sure it's the right fit for them, not just you pushing their service on them.
Amazing. Before I end this, because it was just so action packed, honestly, I want to slow it down a little bit. Like, is there anything else you'd like to share with us to make this discussion more complete for you?
Yeah, so I would like to share Sales Dev Unite. We're really trying to build it out right now and build a community of people who are passionate about sales development. And you as a reader can benefit from it. Anyone from the blogs we're putting out, we're interviewing people like Kyle Van Boris, some other people. And we actually have a new blog out where we share the story of how we tried to build out SDU Academy, which was going to help people break into Saas. And it ended up not being successful, but it's a great way, if you were interested in building out an academy for sales development reps, to see the framework that we built out, and maybe it can help you, reach your goals with that.
Is it salesdevunite.com?
It is, yeah.
Okay, let me put that into the ticker here. All right, so there you go. Closers. We got a lot from Ryan here.
That was quick.
It was just so action-packed. It's awesome. It was like the power 30-minute. It's not even an hour. So to recap, to become an account executive and be a first hire, tip number 1, again, join a sales mastermind, learn outside of scope. Tip 2, write your own ticket, go above and beyond, join boot camps, workshops. Tip number 3, you cannot do it alone. Ask for help. Definitely ask for help. And I do agree. It takes an army. And so you definitely need an army of super fans, an army of evangelists. And to become the first sales hire, you need a 30, 60, 90 plan. So that consists of the target market. You have to find the fit. Go above and beyond, because everyone else is going to go into that interview. They're going to get asked those questions. And if you come in saying, hey, I have a presentation, I know your target market, what's the most effective way to reach out to them? First, we'll do cold call, then we can pivot to emails. And then we could do some A/B testing in order to get the more appointments, therefore the most close. And then finally, to close $200,000, follow up. If you reach out in September, the deal is not dead. The deal is just not ready. So put them in closed loss, but reach out to them again in April and see if you could find anyone else in that steering committee or in that group of stakeholders, and try to pique their interest by solving their problem. Do the hard things. Call at night. Call in the afternoon, call on Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, do the hard work. Make sure you find a coach. And so how did you find your coach, Ryan? Is it like a mentor? I'm curious.
Are you talking about the sales mastermind?
No, your coach, your tip number 3, in order to close $200,000, how did you find your personal coach? Is it the mastermind?
That would be the mastermind, basically. Yeah, like that's what I lean on very heavily when I have a problem and I need a solution.
There you go. And that would be going into salesdevunite.com. Most importantly, listen. have an EQ, diagnose the issue, and then prescribe. So if you haven't already, be sure to smash subscribe. And until next time, keep on closing. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. That was awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Becoming a successful entrepreneur isn't easy, but it's not impossible. Subscribe to my channel today, and together, let's figure out how to grow.
Bring that ass back like a boom boom.